My name is Helmut Isaak. It was pronounced Helmut Isaak. It was pronounced Helmut Isaak. So it depends where I lived in the past. I lived in Paraguay. I was born there and raised there. I lived in the Netherlands for 5 years or more. 5 years in Uruguay, a year in Germany, and now in Canada. We came in 1980, Christmas time, to Canada. And I started Greendale First Mennonite Church on January the 1st. And my training was not really for being a pastor. My training was for teaching. I did my doctoral examination in Anabaptist history and theology in 1972 in Amsterdam. And was supposed to become a prof at the Mennonite Seminary in Montevideo, and then later on in Paraguay. I have worked in Paraguay at the seminary for about 2.5 years. So there is Anabaptist theology is practical theology all the time. It's biblical theology, so that's a big advantage. And so I came to Canada, and the only way to come to Canada was to come as a pastor, because it's not regulated by manpower. So if you don't find anybody in Canada that speaks German, then you can bring in somebody from somewhere else. So in this case, we made it into Canada. So we came into Canada in 1980 Christmas. It was Boxing Day, although Boxing Day didn't mean anything to me at that time. I was able to read any English book, but speaking was very difficult, so I had to learn to speak. So I started a ministry, and the majority of the people, about 2/3, were German speaking. They wanted to have a German sermon. And then they wanted to have English once in a while. So they pushed me very hard, and after 3 months I started to preach in English as well. And then English became for quite a while the language that I always would use. Anyway, my accent will never disappear. That's part of me, and I cannot help that. So Greendale was a very good experience. There was a lot of work. I was on my own as a pastor. We did have a youth sponsor, not a youth pastor. We had a secretary at that time that came in on Friday morning and typed a bulletin. And for the rest, it was all my responsibilities. And I learned a lot. I had to learn very fast, because I never had done a funeral service before. And here comes Easter time, and one of our most beloved kind of grandfathers. They were sitting on the table for the great Easter meal, Danziger Mennoniten Easter. That's incredible. And here he is enjoying his life, and he bends over and dies. And then I had to do the funeral service. That was, later on I figured, I could have done a much better job, but I did my best possible at that time. And that was many times the same. I did my best job possible, but it was, later on I would have done it better. So it was a very, a learning curve that went very high, very quickly. And I wanted to improve my English as much as possible, and I wanted to go to college and to take evening courses. And after a while I said, your English is good enough, you don't need to do that anymore. Even on my day off on Monday evening, maybe you should do a visit or something like that. So there was a lot of very successful farmers and employers, and they would get everything out of me that I would have to offer. Today, I would many times simply say, no, I have a family, I have children, I have a responsibility at my home as well. My children were very well behaved, and they never caused any problems, but at the same time, today I would say I did not have enough time for them at that time. My wife was somebody that loved to be at home, and she spent all the time with the children. So she would get out only if it was necessary. She would come to the church only if she really had to come, otherwise she would not. So that was an advantage. So the children had their mother always available. Dad was always on their way. He was always going. So that was Greendale. So those were the first years. I was just a Paraguayan that came out of Paraguay, just from out of the jungle, just came down from a tree almost. Those were very interesting experiences, and so I learned to know the Greendale Church quite well, and I still have many friends down there, and it was a very good experience.